Okay, example 2. Let's do the exact same questions, but this second way. I got to copy it down here because I didn't write it. I was too lazy, I guess, and now I have to do it here. All right. So it says we want to do it by completing the square. Just when you think, nice, we're done with completing the square. Guess we're not. So, complete the square with this. We need, the number in front is just a 1, so we don't need to write it. We create a square. Take the middle number and cut it in half is going to be 3. 3 divided by the number in front is still 3, so it's a plus 3. Then you're going to want to FOIL that, and really though you're looking at the last number, so 3 squared is the fast way to find that. That's 9 times by the number in front. Well, there is none, so it's 9. So if we're at 9, what will it take for us to get to 5? Well, to get to 5, we have to take 9 and subtract 4. 9 minus 4 would get me 5. Equals 0. So I'm going to erase this stuff over here. If you need to pause and write it down. Okay, now you need to solve for x. That's what we did last time. We said we had to do it by factoring. Here we completed the square. These things are the same, just written in different forms. So let's do backwards BEDMAS. Let's get rid of this 4 first, add it to the other side. So we have x plus 3 squared is equal to 4. And then we can square root to cancel out the squared. Now remember, whenever you're solving, if you ever square root to get rid of a square, you need to do a plus or minus. So it's square root of 4 is 2, so it's plus or minus 2. Then we can minus the 3 from both sides. So then we get this really weird looking thing. It says plus minus 2 minus 3. Well, we have two options. You've got a plus 2 minus 3, or we've got the minus 2 minus 3. This ends up being negative 1. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And negative 2 minus 3, both negative, is negative 5. Now if you take a look at these two answers, do they match the factoring way? Obviously they do. I highlighted them. So which is easier? It's like, well, we've kind of done factoring before, so it is probably relatively quick, and this is a new method, but this method will always work, whereas sometimes you get things that are not factorable. So what did we do there? Well, first we changed the form. We completed the square. Then all we did was move over the 4 and square root it. Make sure we put the plus or minus. Then we moved over the 3, and we got this weird thing that we've never seen before, an expression that has a plus or minus in it. So I just did two versions. I did the plus 2 minus 3, and then I did the minus 2 plus 3 option, and I ended up getting two different equations. There's the minus 2 minus 3 option and the plus 2 plus 3 option. So I'll zoom out there, but I'm going to move right on to letter B here. Now I didn't copy it down, so I'm going to write it. Negative x squared plus 6x minus 8 equals 0. So hopefully we're okay with completing the square, but it's okay if we're not. So you're going to create this square, but the number in front, we're going to have to carry that down. So I'm going to put a negative 1 there. I'm going to take my middle number, 6, and cut it in half to get 3. But then I'm going to take that and divide it by the number in front to get negative 3. So this is negative 3. Now if I FOIL this all out and times it by the negative 1, I want to see where I'm at. So the fast way is to go negative 3 squared times by the negative 1. That's going to be 9. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. So I'm at negative 9. What will it take for me to get to negative 8? Think about that on a number line. Here's negative 9. Here's negative, apparently something else, negative 8. And here's 0. I'm at negative 9. What will it take for me to get there? I'm going to need to add 1. So I'm going to erase that here. You should rewind the video if you need to watch that again. Now I've created this equation, but it equals 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is move over the subtraction there, the addition by subtracting. So I get negative 1 x minus 3 squared equals negative 1. So I did the addition, subtraction. Then you got to do any multiplication. So there's the multiplication right there. So backwards bedmass, then you need to get rid of the division first. So I got x minus 3 squared equals positive 1. Now remember, this is bed mass. So we got rid of the add. There was no subtracting. Then there was a timesing, so we got rid of the multiplication. There was no division. And now we can do exponents. So then we can square root to cancel out the squared. So you get x minus 3 equals the square root of 1, so plus or minus 1. And now we can deal with what was inside the brackets there by adding the 3 over to this side. So I get x equals plus or minus 1 plus 3. So there's a top option, 1 plus positive 1 plus 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4. And then there's the bottom option, negative 1 plus 3. So negative 1 plus 3 is going to be 2. 3 minus 1, you can think of it like that. That's 2. Do those match? 4 and 2. Sure enough, they do match the way above. So which way's faster? Probably factoring at this point. Okay, let's do C. Oh, I don't know what it is again. X squared minus 2x minus 3. All right, so complete the square. And I'm going to create a square. This is a 1. I can carry it down if I want to, but I don't actually need to. Take the middle there, negative 2, cut it in half. It gets me negative 1 divided by the number in front. There is nothing, so it stays negative 1. Then I have to FOIL that, or I can look at the last number squared. So negative 1 squared times by the number in front, but there's nothing there. So negative 1 squared is 1. So I'm at 1, and I need to get to negative 3. So on a number line, there's 1. There's negative 3. What will it take for me to get to there? I got to move over 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to move 4 over. I have to subtract 4. So I'm going to erase that here. Equals 0. So I'm going to erase it. Now I need to solve this, so I can do backwards bedmass, move the addition subtraction first. So I move that. X minus 1 squared equals 4. Last time there was a multiplied number there, so we had to do some division. That's not the case. The next thing we need to do is square root. So x minus 1 equals square root of 4 is 2, but then there's the plus and the minus. And then we can get rid of what was inside this bracket by adding. So x equals plus or minus 2 plus 1. So there's that root. So positive 2 and positive 1 is 3. But then there's negative 1. Or sorry, the negative option. So negative 2 plus 1, which does get me negative 1. And do those match? Negative 1, yep, and positive 3. Perfect. So this is completing the square method, and there's going to be 3 more examples down there. Lucky for us, they are already in Vertex form, so we can solve them a lot easier. We don't actually have to do any completing the square. Take a look at the notes if you want something that's a little bit neater.